Hollywood Scriptwriter Magazine is a trade publication that profiles screenwriters, producers, and directors. We let you into their lives where they tell you how they made their mark in one of the toughest industries of Hollywood, the big screen. Subscribe today at hollywoodscriptwriter.com. In the studio today are director John Uranday and producer Bobby Cloud. Welcome to Hollywood Scriptwriter Magazine's spotlight of screenwriters, producers, and directors. How are you today?
Wonderful. How are you?
Doing well, especially since I'm here with you. All right. We know we haven't done many double interviews, so tell us your connection with one another.
You want to take the lead? You can tell the story.
No, you.
Many years ago, I had my first law office in a converted Costco. And it was right now, I was doing traffic tickets at the time. I was a brand new attorney. And John had just launched the Core Live. And tell him what the Core Live is.
It was one of the very first live video radio hip hop stations. So before they even had a term for it, now it's called podcasts. We were doing live video radio.
And he had DJs on constantly. So we got to talk a lot because there was constant hip hop shaking the windows in my law office. And you can imagine with the shared ventilation system with all of the DJs and artists coming through, my office smelled fantastic. So John and I talked a lot at that time, and that's how we got to know each other in the beginning. Eventually, one day, John had a movie that I wasn't involved in, and he asked me to go with him to AFM in Santa Monica. And he asked me to go because he was doing negotiations as an attorney. He didn't know my background and that I had already made films when I was younger and had made a feature previously. And we kind of got to know each other. And while we're waiting for one of our meetings, they made us wait about, an hour?
Yeah.
And we came up with our first film concept, which we still haven't even made that concept. But we realized that there was a spark there, and there was a creative spark between the two of us. And we've been fast friends ever since.
Wow, that's a great story. You know, everything's meant to happen for a reason, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
We're firmly universe.
Tell me about some of your projects. Give me a summary of some of your projects over the years and what's happening now.
You take the first.
Well, like Bobby said, I had kind of done a couple of films in the beginning before me and Bobby had started working together. And it's funny how I realized where we're at right now. And like, I remember the first film I did, and it was just with friends, friends from the neighborhood, friends that I hung out with, and just getting together, and like, hey, let's see what we can do. And now I was thinking, like I said, thinking about it recently, and I'm like, now to see where me and Bobby are at, it's a big change. So I did release 2 films before. They did come out through like Walmart and Redbox and things like that. So it's but it's changed.
A lot has changed. So John was bugging me for about 2 months. He's like, we need to take after that. Our time in Santa Monica. He said, we need to take a trip. We need to take a trip. We need to take a trip. Eventually, we're like, we'll go to Santa Barbara. And I would say the first hour was pretty quiet. It's about a 2-hour drive. That last hour, we had an entire film concept. We had half of our cast. We had our entire crew. And I told John, if it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. And it did. Everything kept happening in the right direction. We kept moving forward. We never saw a roadblock as a roadblock. We just saw it as a detour. So we just kept chugging along. And before you knew it, we had Lost Souls. That was nominated for some awards. Actually, it won an award in a small festival, so that was good. And that's in distribution now. Then we did a short film that was a proof for Broken Innocence, which is a feature we're going to do in the future. But that one got some recognition and some nominations. The next thing that came out was My Sunshine, which is a super short film. It was less than 4 minutes. But John was able to, one of the comments was from one of the festivals, Uranday was able to linger on a subject to the point where you passed uncomfortable and saw the heart of the character, or something to that effect, and which was impressive because there's no dialogue in that short film. And because John's so rad, I actually got an award for best producer out of Berlin, so that was cool. And then we have Trolled coming out. You want to talk about Trolled?
Um, sure, we can talk about Troll. Troll is something brand new. I mean, like you're saying, you got into this part of it because you got to go with the times, right? You're trying to figure out how to get
Yes.
podcasting and adapting to new technology and all of that. And Trolled was something that eh, how there's so much bullying online now. There's so many different platforms on social media. You know, Adults, kids are all over it, and there's a lot of people that sit behind a keyboard and will give you their strong opinion. And sometimes they are ruthless over it. And we wanted to tell a story of what happens to you.
If someone comes and gets you, and you're not safe with the keyboard anymore. And it actually happened because during the shutdown, someone decided to attack me online, and they spent about 2 days sending me the kind of messages that I'm not going to be able to repeat. I wouldn't repeat in polite public. And my thought was, you know, I can see your profile. I know where you live. I know where you work, all of that. And you don't know me. You wouldn't see me coming. And instead of taking action, I thought, I need to call John. This is a great idea for a movie. So is a person that gets hired by victims of significant and horrible trolling. And then he finds out everything about them and then puts them in a basement and live streams it on the dark web as a show where everybody learns the consequences of trolling.
He's the anti.
We have some exciting things about that we're not supposed to talk about yet, but I will say we are going to Las Vegas for a convention with NFTs, and we're going to do some very strange things ahead. So you might want to talk to us after August once we've explained what's going to happen with that, and it's going to be a unique experience for a film and for us. So that's going wonderful. The
Now,
next,
before you go there, I want to stay right there, and then we're going to go on. Now, did Troll actually, in your experience, change the direction of what type of movies you will now create, or are you just adding it to your resume, another type of movie? Because to me, that's a message. You're giving an audience a message, and even if it's a message of consequence.
well, and mental health, because you go deep into the stories of what these people victimized, and it deals with the mental health impacts and the real world impacts of why these people were trolls in the first place. It's a deep dive into the personalities of the people that were the aggressors, and a very deep dive into the real world consequences, the things that they thought were just funny and meaningless to them. So I think it does have a message. John and I, with Kalima.
Yeah.
So, Indiana Jones, the scene where he rips the guy's heart out and says, Kalima. If it doesn't have that Kalima, we don't make the film. If it doesn't have something about it that rips your heart out, I wouldn't say it changed too much. It definitely emboldened us, because when we shot it ultra cheap. And I mean, ultra cheap. And we shot it in one day. And we were doing it as a proof of concept. We weren't even thinking that this would work the first time. So we were doing it as an experiment, but thanks to the universe, we ended up getting an amazing cast that was able to work mostly on improv. They only had backgrounds of their characters, except for the troll, who was working off of really an outline and practice the way that you would with a stage play. So it feels, when you watch it, it's a film that is taking place in real time. So when you watch 90 minutes, it's 90 minutes out of these people's lives. And I think it made us braver. And I'm not sure if that's good yet because we're pretty old. So
I think a lot of the subjects that we do deal with are stories that aren't told. So as long as we stay doing that, um, I think that's where our lane is just telling stories that, you know, the first one we did was Lost Souls, and it was about an exorcism, but to somebody that didn't need an exorcism. And we started doing research and found out there was people, a lot of people that had been killed through exorcisms and were not possessed, were not anything. And we found one story in particular about a young kid in New Jersey. They ended up killing him. He was 8 years old. They wrapped him up in all these blankets and stuff, and they basically smothered him. Ended up finding out the little boy was actually autistic, and the mother took the child to the church, and they had this exorcism. So a lot of the stories, like even Depth of Field right now, is dealing with handling grief, for men. And it's the stories that we do touch on, I think, have a very a soul to them. No pun intended.
yes. So we work real hard at making sure the stories, we see what's going on in Hollywood, and it's a revamping, everything. I mean, the biggest movie out right now is a sequel. Top Gun's a sequel. People are building off of sequels. People are redoing stories, and that's very much playing it safe. And that's great, and it's very entertaining. And you can make beautiful art that way, but you're never going to break new ground unless you take chances, and you got to take the chance to fail um, in order to try something that's never been done. You don't know if it's going to work. Are people going to get it? Are you going to communicate it correctly? And you just got to make sure you spend the time to treat it with the respect it deserves and figure out what is the heart of the film and make sure that that is the main character. What is it that you're trying to communicate?
What are you working on like right now? Is there anything new coming out?
We just showed Depth of Field that he mentioned, and that is a story of a guy that owns a tattoo shop and is a biker, and his wife and child had died in a horrible car accident, probably about a year and a half earlier. And that film is about him having his first friendship, and he has friends that live next door, but he hasn't spoken to them. He lives in his garage. He can't bear to be in the house without them. And they get a foster child who doesn't know all of that. So she's not asking about his grief or his family. And you find out that they have a shared experience in life. It still chokes me up thinking about it. And it's the first real friendship that either of them are able to make after their grief. And it's a story of coming out of that tunnel. And we got a very good reception, even though we're doing color correction tomorrow.
Yeah.
So we'll be finishing the color correction and the sound balancing and everything else is done. So that is going to be going out hopefully to distributors and
festivals, definitely.
And festivals, definitely.
It's a festival film. We made that film for festivals.
So that's what the other thing we're working on is A Gun's Life. And that's what we were in Cannes. Spent a lot of time working on that and making connections, and people are loving the script. We've already got an attachment. And that IMDb page is going to go up here very quickly. And we're raising funds, and we have some exciting co-producers and other production companies that are interested. So we're not hoping, it's going to start happening very shortly. So we're in pre-production on that now.
You mentioned raising funds. A lot of our readers and viewers, that's some of the most difficult part of being successful, being able to create your dream. How do you go about funding your projects?
I'm going to speak up because for us, the one benefit that we are able to have is Bobby's daytime job. Bobby's a lawyer during the day. This is
the get up. I just got done with court.
yeah.
Oh,
So,
wow.
you know, that's a lot of things that, you know, a lot of people that are trying to do films don't have that luxury. It is hard. It's hard to find funding. For my first two films, it was me and friends. You know, the first film that I did got picked up. That distribution company actually gave me a little bit of money to do the next film. So it is hard. You
So you
know,
didn't go and buy a Rolls Royce.
yeah.
You put the money back into your projects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, that's not what you want to do. Oh, we lost the light, but that's okay. I don't even know how to start this. I would say the most exciting thing, and we were terrified. We let it sit on the shelf for months because we were terrified to look at the footage, was Troll. And it was the cheapest film that we've made, but it was outside the box. And I mean, I would say the shooting budget was less than, I think it was less than $5,000.
Wow.
And I will quote someone, but I can't remember who said it, but I'm not taking credit for it. You're never going to get good at making movies unless you make movies. If you're waiting for money to make movies, you're never going to make a movie. So how are you going to get good at money? So you get in the egg kind of. So my thought is get out there. Even if you're making cell phone movies, you know, even if you're, you know, come up with a concept where it makes sense that it's that. Do short films. Well, I will tell you this. I'm getting better at my job every time we do a project. But watching John develop his screenwriting and the way we write together and his dialogue and watching his directing, just leaps and bounds between films. Sometimes it feels like it's not even the same. When you look at it, it doesn't even look like it's the same director. There's such a leap in how much you learn.
Wow.
Spend the time. You got to spend the time. You got to buckle down, do it. If it's small, it's small. Throw it into some festivals. See what happens. Great advice we got from one of our good friends. He says, take that, shoot it to Cannes, send it to the Cannes Film Festival. Because you get in, great. You don't get in, you don't get in. Send it to a bunch of festivals.
Don't be
You know,
afraid of rejection, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
nobody should worry about people that don't like their films. And the reason you shouldn't worry is because there's going to be somebody that, well, we have a friend that she's our biggest fan. I would have never guessed that it would have struck a chord with her ever. And that she's just, and she calls regularly and she's like, what's going on? What's the next one going to be? When are you going to have another showing? When can I see another one? We got our first merch online. Someone made something from Troll and Troll's not even released yet. It's just from the social media. So worry about the people that understand what you're doing, because there only needs to be 1 in 100 people that get you. So if 99, someone says, no, I don't like what you're doing, then those aren't the 99 people you're making the movie for. The person you're making the movie for is the person that sees what you're trying to say in the story and what feeling you're trying to get out. And even sometimes, especially like Lost Souls, the reactions we got from that actually were the opposite of what I thought we were trying to do. But it was moving. And it's not my job or John's job to interpret what we're doing. It's the viewer. Because, you know, any of our films you could watch and get a reaction that John and I, we were told things about depth of field in Cannes at the screening that we had no idea that we had even done. Because things about your personality come out in your films that you don't know.
And so what I'm hearing is don't predict how your audience is going to respond or even expect. Just let it happen.
Just let it happen. Even if you totally disagree with them. And sometimes, like I said, things slip in. I saw a great interview with Spielberg one time where Close Encounters, the interviewer asked him, oh, it was so great how you integrated your parents into the movie. And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, well, you had the scientists talk to the aliens with music. Your mom was a musician and your dad was a scientist.
Wow.
And he was tears. And this interview was 20 years after he had made the movie. It was the first person in 20 years of this hugely popular film that had ever put that together about the movie. And he had without knowing he was doing it. So do what's true to yourself, and somebody out there is going to relate to it. That's what I would say. Rejection is meaningless.
John, have you done more than direct films? Have you written and produced films as well? And same with you, Bobby.
We are writing. We both worked on writing other films outside of each other, but we work together as a writing team. And he does throw in on the producing as well. I keep my mouth shut when he's directing, though. Even if I say anything, sometimes it's good, but most of the time that's mostly 100% John.
And see, that's what I want to know. How do you balance your talents when working together? Because you both have prominent talents, and working together with someone that closely and then knowing and have a friendship, as opposed to being hired by someone, is a whole different ballgame when you're actually friends. How do you balance your two separate talents?
What's interesting is like most of the crew that we have worked with are people I've worked on other projects with. So I already got a rapport with them. And they enjoy, I've had people say that they just love the energy that we do have on set. It's a family affair, it's really everybody's there to get the very best thing out of everybody. And I don't think there's any egos, and everybody, I'm definitely a person that's open to ideas. I'm not somebody like, this is my vision and I don't want to hear what you have to say. I don't work that way. I'm open to things, but if I do have something, obviously I'm going to stick to it. But I'm open to conversation. And, with us being on set and being friends, that we've had a couple little things, being on set, but, at the end of the day, we still hug each other. We're like, hey, sorry, love you.
It's about business when you're on the set.
Well, I was just going to say, yes, but don't ever forget you're getting to make a movie. You're getting to do something nobody, or at least a very small percentage of people, get to do. And don't lose sight of that's why you're there. Be in love with making a movie. And if you're in love with making the movies, and we clearly are, and that's what we get that a lot, because I'll just walk by John while he's setting up a thing, and I'll be like, hey, what? We're making a movie, buddy. And he's like,
can you believe it? We're doing it again.
It's if that's your purpose, you'll make everything else work out.
Yeah, I 1,000% agree with that. That's why I think the energy is good. Everybody walks away feeling it's hard. Even at the end, everybody's hugging each other, and everybody's like, man, this we've just spent X amount of days together, living together basically 24 hours a day, and it's just like everybody just has a great energy when they show up to set. Even by the end of the day, I mean, sometimes we work our crew, hard, and they are there because we have these conversations. I remember last time on Depth of Field, we were shooting this gallery scene, and we shot a bunch of other scenes, and we were going into a little bit of overtime, and like literally pulled the sound guy and pulled the DP to the side and was like, hey, do you guys mind working another hour? I know we're already, we're pushing it, but like we have to get this shot. And they were, you know what? Yeah, of course. Let's if we're already here and we're already doing it, let's get it. Let's make sure it's done right, and let's do it right. So don't rush it. Don't, let's not cut corners because, we're tired. Let's finish it. Let's get it done for the project. And that's just, we've been blessed to have people like that are willing to, coexist and,
buckle down.
Yeah.
And there's one of my favorite ones, and it wasn't even a long time. We shot it one day. We had 4 people that came down from Los Angeles, and there's only 5 actors in the film, and No one had ever met each other. We shot, and one of the actors actually spent Thanksgiving with one of the other actors after one day of being on set. So
Wow.
it's an experience that people don't get, and don't let the business and the logistics get in the way of your joy. That's a big part of it, I think.
Yeah, and that brings it to another question. I know, tell us about Penwheel Productions.
What do you want to know about Penwheel Productions? It's a conglomeration of people who love the idea of making movies.
Okay.
John and Trish are basically the founding people in Penwheel, but we've got our friend Jeffrey Stevens. He's an encyclopedia of obscure music. So he's perfect as a sound supervisor, and he loves it. We actually shot it, kept the field at his house, and
He's the one that actually gave us the idea in the beginning.
The seed of the idea was his.
So
And
is this your corporation? This your I don't know how to put it. Is this your corporation? And what you produce movies under is under Penwheel Productions.
Yes.
yes,
Okay. So, and then going back a little bit, because you talked a lot about teamwork and people who are starting their own production aspect and being the director, producer, screenwriters, etc. How do you go about picking your team? Or is it just, we need people, they're willing to work, we don't really care about anything else, they're good. I mean, but do you hand pick your teams?
absolutely.
Yes.
And we're like a snowball. And the farther we go, every movie we make, our team is bigger. So, we have a makeup artist we always go to now. We've been using the same director of photography the entire time.
Oh, okay.
Second in charge, I think, is always the same guy.
Yeah.
You hope to bring back those, but like we had a savior, our first, or the assistant camera. Do you remember she came in?
Macy.
When Macy came in, we lost the assistant cameraman because of a scheduling conflict, and we had gone over on the days. And she came in, and she was fit right in. Like, I hope we never lose her. She was amazing. And as we continue to go, I mean, we have post production. We have Orlin, pronounce his last name. Debref, yes. And he's come in and he's amazing. When we work with actors, if their vibe is right and they're good, we do our best to be able to use them again. Raphael Patardi was the star of Depth of Field, and that guy's blowing up as it is, but I love being on set with that guy. He's a fun guy. We're gonna go hang out with him Saturday. So
But what was really awesome though, like what you're saying, is you look at people like Clint Eastwood and a lot of these directors, they use the same people over and over, and it keeps that flow. Everybody knows what's expected out of everybody. Everybody's energy is all the same. Like you said, we're all here to make a movie. Yes, we're here to make a movie. So we've been really lucky at, even with bringing in Macy, the makeup artist, Ashley had worked with her on a couple other projects and was like, I know her, she's really good, got a great vibe. And that was how she ended up coming along. The sound guy was a new sound person for us this time.
I let him go. He's stuck with us.
Oh yeah.
He fit right in.
Yeah. And but that was from Orlin. Orlin, you knew another director, and that director recommended him. So, now, these are people we don't want to lose. We want to keep, for our next project and further on. We just want to, it's that group of people. We all know, everybody knows what's expected. The energy stays the same. Bringing in new people is very difficult. Not that we're not open to it, but if we can keep the same core group of people, we will definitely do that.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine that's so important to being able to execute whatever project you're doing and whatever type of movie that you're doing.
And you can hit the ground running. Like everybody shows up on the first day, usually the first day is this awkward getting to know each other. How does this person work? What language? What? How do you speak to them to get an idea across? But if you've done a couple of movies together, it's like, hey, all right, first shot. What are we gonna do? Boom, 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 and there you are, and you're already off and running. But your first question was, how do you get started? So this would be my advice: go to film festivals. Talk to filmmakers, even if they're local film festivals, especially if they're local to you, because local film festivals, even though they're small, go watch other people's movies, get ideas, see techniques, learn more. But be a good human and put yourself out there. And it's the same thing. If 99 people say no, wait for the one that says yes. Don't Rejection doesn't exist in the way I look at it, because you're not being rejected. It's just that wasn't your person. That wasn't your DP. That wasn't your director. That wasn't your producer. That wasn't your writer. And just know that you're going to do it and make a decision. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make a movie, and I'm going to continue to meet people until I've got a collective of enough people to do it. But you got to put yourself out there. That's not going to happen if you're sitting at home dreaming about it. Get out there and get in the mix.
Closed mouths don't get fed.
That's right.
That's true. That's true. Location. You guys shoot on different locations? Is it in the same state? It has been out of the country, or what? And what makes the location so significant?
We've been blessed as far as we're both from Bakersfield. I live out in Los Angeles now, but I'm from Bakersfield. So our resources, especially between the both of us, is ginormous here. Like, oh, we need this type of thing. Oh, I know somebody. I'll call my friend that has a friend that has a ranch. Okay, we get that. All right. We need a lowrider. Oh man, I got my friend over here on the east side. You know what? His uncle's got a lowrider. Let me call him up. To do these things, right now, for us to do it for the budgets that we've been working with, if you looked at our budgets and then you looked at the stuff that we actually get because of our resources together, that would change just entirely. It would change if we were to shoot in Los Angeles or we were to shoot anywhere else, from renting cars to renting houses, to all of that. It's just an entirely different thing. But with our resources, we shoot everything that we have shot so far. We've shot it in Bakersfield.
Well, we shot in LA.
That was my apartment.
Well, no, we shot outside for Brooklyn Edison.
Yeah, a couple times.
But and the other thing is what I see is there's a lot of social media groups where there's a bunch of filmmakers together, and you're asked when you need something, I need a lowrider. You don't just ask the film people, ask everybody Put it out on social media. I'm looking for a lowrider to use on this date. We needed a motorcycle. We needed 2 motorcycles. We got the 2 motorcycles from one of them was from someone I'd never met before.
Yeah.
So because everybody loves movies. If you don't, then you don't. We're not talking about those people. The vast majority of people love movies, and the idea of doing something and being a part of it, even for a day, is an exciting thing. That's why we want to make movies, is because it's fun and it's exciting and we get to do something cool. So leave that opportunity open to people that have never thought about it. I will tell you this. My first play I was in, I wasn't the person auditioning. I was helping my buddy. I wasn't interested at all. But I got cast and I did it. And then the first film I was in, I was just being an actor for my buddy who was putting it together. And I ended up having to produce on set because the entire thing started to fall apart. I didn't know I was a producer. At that time, I didn't go in with that expectation. So you never know what you're going to get. Especially in a person, they don't know what they're capable of. I would have never believed I was 19 at the time, but I never believed I was a producer. Like, it didn't make sense to me. I wasn't interested in it. But once I was on the set and things were going bad, oh wow, I'm a really fast problem solver. Oh wow, I can really calm people down when they're upset. oh wow, I didn't know about these talents. And you don't know your friend that you've never met on Facebook brings a motorcycle for one of your shoots, and next thing you know, maybe you just found your next actor. Maybe you found a producer. Maybe they had an idea that they never put to paper, and you inspired. That's what happened with Jeff. Jeffrey Stevens, our sound supervisor. He had been interested because we've been doing it a long time, and we've known Jeff for years. But until he was on set and he saw it, lit a fire under him, and it changed his entire outlook. So don't.
Same thing for Ashley,
Same thing for Ashley, our
makeup girl.
she came and she was on Lost Souls and changed her career. She's a professional makeup artist now, works in LA all the time, and now she's doing art. And she was telling it to me a couple of weeks ago. She goes, I didn't know that was in me until I saw it. A movie set, movies are magical, but I will tell you, a movie set is so much more magical to me, at least. Yeah.
I'm going to have to come out and sit on the set and see what other talents I have.
Absolutely.
Sounds like being open-minded is what I'm hearing. That maybe some newcomers are so bent on, this is how I want it, this is how I see it. And maybe that's where they may not meet that success mark. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Oh, yes, I do agree. Because you already put yourself in this place of like, I can't do it unless I have this. I can't do it unless, this is going to happen. And, to us, like I said, my first movie I shot was with my friends, and just literally, not actors, just homies that I could call up and be like, hey, we're going to do something. I got the camera. Let's see what we can do, and if you put yourself already in that place of like, I need $1 million in order to make my movie, well, I guess I'm not going to make my movie, like think outside of the box. Like that is what filmmaking is learning to adapt, because you can have the greatest idea, you can have your money sitting there in the bank, you're on set, everything's going, and then all of a sudden you get something just goes wrong, and now you gotta switch lanes, and you're like, okay, how do we go from here to here, and how do we change it to make sense? Like that is something, if you're going to allow things like that to stop you, you're never going to do a thing.
Wow. You got to look at everybody as I need this before I'm going to make a movie.
Yeah.
That's backwards. I'm going to make a movie. What do I have to make a movie?
Oh, okay.
If you put a blockade, if you created the blockade, how are you ever going to get around it? It's your own creation. If you're saying I'm making a movie, what resources do I have, and what kind of movie can I make with it? Look at what happened with Saw. That's how Saw happened. They had I think it was $100,000, or it wasn't a huge budget for the first one. They're like, well, what do we have? Well, we got a tricycle, and we got a creepy puppet, and we got a warehouse. What are we gonna do? This money's gonna do it. And they did it. And look at what they were able to come up with. That was a movie that was made based on circumstances. Blair, everybody talks about Blair Witch, but they were going to make a movie. They bought their camera and then returned it.
Wow. That's a story.
But you don't have to have the success of Saw every time, or ever. You don't ever have to be that big. If you're making movies and you're consistently doing it, you're getting better, you're going to end up running into a position where people are going to see that. That's what's happening with us. We were treated completely different in Cannes this year because we've been doing it. We've been able to show a feature film 3 years in a row. We're closed for 2020 clearly, but 3 years in a row we showed a feature. And now you're talking to us. That's how we got here, is just by doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it.
Mm-hmm. That's great advice. Where do we see John and Bobby in the next 5 years, briefly, as we conclude our interview? But where do we see you guys? Where do you see yourselves?
I really honestly, right now we're going into a huge transformation in our budgets, and I just see us doing bigger films, bigger crew, and that's what I see. And that to me is exciting. We have a lot of stuff written, ready to go. So that was one of the benefits after depth of field and the conversations that we had this time, is that we have something ready to go as soon as we got home. Like it was like, okay, we can pull that trigger, because no pun intended, we pulled up. So like we're able to do that. We're already in this and starting, developing it, or putting all our, everything together right now. And we're already thinking, okay, as soon as this one's done, we're going to do this one, so it's like we're already planning for the next one, because everything is like, now we see the ball starting to go down the hill. Like we've been pushing and pushing and pushing. And now we're getting ready to go over and like, all right, let's go on the ride.
Yeah. I think that in 5 years, I think we've got 3 to 4 features that we'll get done.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very unique. And that's a lot. But the confidence we can see is there.
Well, thank you.
Well, I mean, we already have the scripts. Yeah. And that's the other thing. It's free to write a script.
That's true.
So if you're a scriptwriter or you're a director and you have an idea, the only thing stopping you from sitting down and writing that script is you.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And we're going to leave with that. That is, you guys have given such great advice. You've been very inspirational. We wish you the best of luck. Your success continue. I hope to be at some of those screenings. I'm just excited for you guys. And I'm just so pleased that you guys took the time out to be with us here. Appreciate it so very much.
We appreciate you having me.
Yes. And we're talking with director John Uranday and producer Bobby Cloud. This is Hollywood Scriptwriter Magazine Spotlight of Screenwriters, Producers, and Directors, where we profile industry makers who tell us how they made it to the big screen. Check us out again at www.hollywoodscriptwriter.com. Until next time, I'm Angela Cranon. Make it a great day. Hollywood Scriptwriter Magazine is a trade publication that profiles screenwriters, producers, and directors. We let you into their lives, where they tell you how they made their mark in one of the toughest industries of Hollywood, the big screen. Subscribe today at hollywoodscriptwriter.com.